Okay, this evening we're doing Phoenix Hughes' VCore 98 Plus Yonex racket. It's a 16 by 19 pattern. It is not standard length. The 98 Plus indicates that it's a little bit longer frame than the standard 27-inch frame. But as far as stringing is concerned, it's a pretty standard 16 by 19. So I've already cut the string and we're ready to roll. We've got Solinco Hyper G at 52 pounds going in. The Yonex rackets have really been gaining popularity in the area. There's several of the players in the area are using VCore now. Quite a few are using the E-zone frames. And I imagine we'll see a lot more of the Percepts getting used here in the near future. They seem to be gaining in popularity. The new VCore line is a sand-colored racket as opposed to this older 2 or 3 year old VCore line that has the red and the blues in it. So it'll be interesting to see what color of string everyone starts using with the sand-colored rackets. And again, as always with the 5th main, I reversed the clamp to give myself more room, running the 6th main through. Just one of my techniques that helps to save a little time. I promised Phoenix that I'd have his racket done in 30 minutes from the time he dropped it off. It took me a couple minutes to cut the old string out. So I'm going to be moving right along here, hopefully. We'll see how long this video is in length when we get done. Kind of depends how the crosses go in. They take the longest. Mains usually take about 5-6 minutes. And with the mains, because the mains do a lot of work, I use a double half hitch to finish the mains. When I end the racket, when I end the cross is the last one at the bottom, I just do a single half hitch because the crosses at the bottom usually don't get very much stress. They don't get used hardly at all. Okay, that's it for the mains. Unclamp and get them ready for the crosses up at the top. Got a little ahead of myself there. I was thinking it was a regular cross, but it's just the first one. So I had to do it a little different there, and then we clip here and we're ready to do the rest of the crosses. What you see me doing with my left hand is as I pull the crosses through, bring the string through the racket, I move it up with my left hand, and that helps guide it through a little bit smoother, and it also prevents any scoring of the mains and weakening them. That way they're not inclined to get any premature breakage from having any pre-existing score marks in them and thinning the string. So same thing with the right hand. Now I push up, it helps to guide the string through the grommet a little bit easier. And then, as in the other videos, I like to, each string as I go, I like to make sure it's as close to parallel with the one in front of it. That way when I get to the bottom, it's all done. If I get them all lined up as I proceed down the racket, it goes a little bit smoother. And I know when I pull that last cross and tie it off, the racket is finished. Just turn the table, give a quick check, and they look pretty uniform. Looks good. As is the case with co-poly, being a little bit stiffer than the multi-filament strings, they tend not to weave as easy. I can usually, some guys are good at it, I can usually get, 5 or 6 of the first mains I can weave them through, but after that I don't have the dexterity to get the rest of them, so I just do the over and under method, which is just as good. As you can imagine, the important thing is to not skip any mains as you're going along and end up with 2 mains both going over or under side by side. Then you end up different when you get to the end and you have to pull it back out and go through again. So do it carefully as you run it through there, so you only have to do it once. Now, reverse this clamp at the 8th, 7th, and 8th crosses. That way the clamp is out of the way for moving your hands underneath for doing the over and under and the weaving. Gives you more room to work with under there. Swing that one around and get it ready. One thing that I really haven't talked about very much before is when you're working with co-poly, the nature of the string as you're pulling it through is that it wants to twist and knot up, and it will hook onto everything that it's close to. So you have to be careful and you have to learn how to watch it as it's coming through so you don't get any bends in it, and you don't want it to kink as you tension it, because it could then snap and then you got to start all over. And have I done that before? Oh yeah. So you learn to be a little proactive and watch for things like that in advance, and take just an extra second and untwist it before you pull it through. And we're over halfway now, so we're on the backside stretch down to the throat, and you get, as you can see down here, you get less and less room to work with as you get towards the end. The last 3 crosses you end up having to go over and under each string individually because there's just not a lot of room to do the over and under or weaving action. They take, each of the last 2 or 3 take about a minute to do. So if you can make up some time getting there, that's good. I always figure each cross should take about 30 to 45 seconds. If you can stay in that kind of time parameter, you can usually do the crosses in 15-20 minutes. And 20 to 25 minutes stringing a racket is a fair amount of time. I'm sure there's a lot of guys, I know the ones that do it for speed know how to use a little extra string, and they put loops on the side and then they just pull and clamp off and etc. down the racket. Then when they get done, they go back and straighten them all out, make them all nice and square. But I really don't go for speed. I do this because I enjoy doing it and want to do a nice job for my customers so they have a nice looking and dependable racket for a very fair price. And that's worked out good for me and them. We got 4 more crosses to do, so back and forth 2 more times. Now these last 3, as you can see, not a lot of room to work in there. I could probably fight it and try and go over and under, but it's just as easy to do one at a time. That way we don't make any mistakes and don't have any kinks or anything in it. Pull it through and make sure it's no knot underneath the clamp. Okay, 2 more. This next to the last one, we got to make sure we go over. It's a little bit different, which keeps our pattern intact. Don't worry about at the bottom with any scoring. Again, most of the tennis balls do not hit in this third of the racket. They're usually in the upper third of the racket and the middle, so there's not a lot of pressure put on the strings down at the bottom. And on the last one, we go back to the normal underneath to start. And go through this grommet on the next cross, the last cross before it. Run it through there, and I finish off with a single half hitch. And it seems to hold just fine. And there we are, all finished. Hope you've enjoyed watching.